Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Charan Vishnu Paraparamahamsa Parivrajacharya Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person, text 34. Shokam, Moham, Bhayam, Krodam, Ragam, Klaibhyam, Shramam, Adayam, Yadmulam, Syu, Nrinam, Jahyat, Spriham, Pranam, Arthayom, Buddhaham, Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragakaibhya Shramadayam, Ragakaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayat, Yanmula Syurnrinam Jayat, Spriham Pranartayor Buddham, Spriham Pranartayor Buddham, Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragakaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayat, Spriham Pranartayor Buddham, Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragaklaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayat, Spriham Pranartayor Buddha. Yanmula Syunrinam Jayat, Spriham Pranartayor Buddha, Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragaklaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayat, Spriham Pranartayor Buddha. Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragaklaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayam, Spriham Pranartayor Buddha. Come on. Abhinaya. Shokamoha Bhayakrodam, Ragaklaibhya Shramadayam, Yanmula Syunrinam Jayam, Mataji? Shoka moha bhaya krodha raga klaibhya shramadaya yanmula smrinam jaya spriham pranatayo buddha. Shoka, lamentation. Moha, illusion. Bhaya, fear. Krodha, anger. Raga, attachment. Klaibhya, poverty. Shrama, unnecessary labor. Adaya, and so on. Yatmula, the original cause of all these. Syu, become. Nrinam, of human beings. Jahyat, should give up. Spriham, the desire. Prana, for bodily strength or prestige. Arthayo, and accumulating money. Buddha, an intelligent person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, and unnecessary labor. The original cause of all of these is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money. Purport. Here is the difference between Vedic civilization and the modern demoniac civilization. Vedic civilization concerned itself with how to achieve self-realization, and for this purpose one was recommended to have a small income to maintain body and soul together. The society was divided into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, and the members of this society would limit their endeavors to meeting their minimum demands. The Brahmanas in particular would have no material desires. Because the Kshatriyas had to rule the people, it was necessary for them to have money and prestige. But the Vaishyas were satisfied with agricultural produce and milk from the cow, and if by chance there were excess, trade was allowed. The Shudras were also happy, for they would get food and shelter from the three higher classes. In the demoniac civilization of the present day, however, there is no question of Brahmanas or Kshatriyas. There are only so-called workers and a flourishing mercantile class who have no goal in life. According to Vedic civilization, the ultimate perfection of life is to take sannyas. But at the present moment, people do not know what sannyas, why sannyas is accepted. Because of misunderstanding, they think that one accepts sannyas to escape social responsibilities. But one does not accept sannyas to escape from responsibility to society. Generally, one accepts sannyas at the fourth stage of spiritual life. One begins as a brahmachari, then becomes a grihastha, a vanaprastha, and finally a sannyasi, to take advantage of the duration of one's life by engaging oneself fully in self-realization. Sannyas does not mean begging from door to door to accumulate money for sense gratification. However, because in Kali Yuga people are more or less prone to sense gratification, immature sannyas is not recommended. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Nectar of Instruction, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpunyam agraha jana sangascha lolyam cha shabdir bhaktir vinashyati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practice the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the society and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with the worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. A sannyasi should have an institution meant to preach Krishna consciousness. He need not accumulate money for himself. We recommend that as soon as money accumulates in our Krishna consciousness movement, 50% of it should be invested in printing books and 50% for expenditures, especially in establishing centers all over the world. The managers of Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely cautious in regards to this point. Otherwise, money will be the cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, material attachment, material poverty, and unnecessary hard work. When I was alone in Vrindavan, I never attempted to construct matas or temples. Rather, I was fully satisfied with a small amount of money I could gather by selling back to Godhead. And thus, I would provide for myself and also print the literature. When I went to foreign countries, I lived according to the same principle. But when Europeans and Americans began to give money profusely, I started temples and deity worship. The same principle should still be followed. Whatever money is collected should be spent for Krishna and not a far thing for sense gratification. This is the Bhagavat principle. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashta Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shnyavadi Paschacharishtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Garadara Shosari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shoka Moha Bhaya Krodha Raga Klaibhya Shramadaya Yanmula Syur Nrinam Chayat Spriham Pranartayor Buddha. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, and unnecessary labor. The original cause of all this is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money. So here we have another instructive verse in Srimad Bhagavatam on the principles of the behavior of a perfect person. In many ways, we all try to achieve perfection, even if it is not from the spiritual point of view. We endeavor in so many ways to improve our material condition. So in that sense also we can say that we are endeavoring for perfection. If you look at any kind of sphere of life, when people perform any kind of activities, they try to become perfected in it. And they definitely work very hard to achieve that. Whether it be work, whether it be studies, whether it be some kind of sports activities, whatever it might be, people very intensely strive to achieve any kind of desired goal that they hope will give them perfection within it. And of course, we know in the course of time, many of them do achieve some kind of results within that sphere of activity that they perform or they hankered to achieve. But after some time, we again see that, as Krishna would state in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Moga Sha Moga Karma No Moga Jnana Vicheta Sam Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva Mohinim Prakritim Shrita. That all of those activities that anyone may endeavor for within this material sphere, they're all basically baffled. They're all disturbed. They all remain unaccomplished just by the very nature of the material existence. So all their endeavors for knowledge, all their endeavors for success, all their endeavors for any kind of perfection, they just become ultimately futile. And no matter how hard anyone can strive to achieve any kind of satisfaction in those regards, ultimately he fails. For we have the principle of Papa Bhava Ma, where even after hard endeavor, disappointment and frustration followed by the fear and death. And this is material existence, pavarga. So inevitably, no matter how anyone strives from a material point of view to achieve any kind of result, unless this is in relationship with a spiritual practice, he definitely faces inevitable frustration, inevitable fail. And why is this so? Because any kind of activities, as stated in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, unless again it's related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, creates various kinds of reactions. So even if it is karma, pious activity, it will create some kind of entangling reaction within this material existence that will bind us and continue our struggle for survival within this miserable material world. So no matter how hard we try and invest within any kind of material endeavor, ultimately we cannot achieve perfection. It is impossible. And it is destined in due course of time that even if we achieve something, we won't be able to hold upon it. It will slip away. There will be always somebody else who will surpass us in one way or the other. That is also very commonly seen within this material existence, that there is always somebody who can do things better. Whether it be in work, whether it be in studies, or as I said, whether it be the sports or anything else. For some time, somebody can remain, or it's granted to have a little taste of some kind of success, but then he cannot retain that position. And therefore the whole material existence is filled with fear and anxiety. As yesterday we have been hearing, even those who achieve, let's say, some kind of material opulence and wealth or position, they're always in anxiety and fear how to retain that. First of all, they're in anxiety how to come to that point of obtaining anything within this material existence. And then secondly, even if they do, it is so difficult to retain that. It is so difficult. Because there is always some threat of somebody or something else that we may lose whatever we have achieved. So this is material existence, filled with so much anxiety, with so much pressure. And in such kind of a state, where is the question of peace of mind? Where is the question of satisfaction? Arjuna is arguing in Srimad Bhagavad Gita that he does not want to fight the battle of Kurukshetra because one of the less noble reasons was the reason of enjoyment. I want to be happy. In one sense, yes, I want to attain something that will grant me happiness. but from another point of view, I don't want to take the bad side of it. It's impossible. In this material world, whatever we do, there is always sukh and dukh, because this world is the world of the duality. You cannot take just sense gratification. You have to take also the sense deprivation. Both come along together. If you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up also another end of the stick. It's the world of duality. And this is why Krishna, throughout Bhagavad Gita, we find, advises every one of us to remain equipoised, no matter what happens within this material existence, whether it be sukh or dukh, whether it be honor or dishonor, whether it be heat or cold, whether it be success or failure, whatever it might be, any kind of duality. Krishna is pointing out that we have to learn how to become equanimical, steady. This is one of the symptoms of Sthita Dhir Muni, of a sadhu who remains steady in what? Steady in performance of his devotional service. Because we know that any kind of attachment or aversion, as mentioned here, will stray us away from that kind of devotional progress that we can achieve by practicing devotional service. So if in any way we are attached to whatever, any of those dualities that we have mentioned, position, name, fame, glory, success, any kind of achievement, if any kind of attachment is there, this will hamper our devotional progress. So that's not very easy to achieve, definitely. We all need in some way some kind of motivation to progress in devotional path, on the devotional path. So on the neophyte level, definitely that might be some kind of we can chart out some kind of a goal that we consider that is important. But this is all, as I said initially, tinged with that kind of material conception, which has nothing to do with spiritual, pure understanding of spiritual progress. Pure spiritual conception of a pure spiritual progress does not entail any kind of post, does not entail any kind of possession, as here in Purport Srila Prabhupada is explaining, especially any kind of material achievement or possession, because that is another form, again, that is attachment. And again, any kind of attachment will cause anxiety, and again, any kind of anxiety will leave us or will cause us being bereft of the peace in which we can perform devotional service. So it's not easy to perform devotional service unless there is a peace of mind. Why so much we stress upon a peace of mind? We know that in every practice, yoga practice or spiritual practice, that control of the mind is one of the most crucial elements for continuation of the spiritual practice. Because again, if the mind is not controlled, if the mind is not peaceful and steady and regulated, then it's impossible to achieve any quality progress in the spiritual direction. So this is why, again, being too attached or being averse towards anything will not yield any kind of spiritual progress, will not lead towards any kind of spiritual fruit. It will be distracting. So this is the instruction Krishna is giving to Arjuna, that you have to learn how to be equipoised. Unless you become so, you're not going to be happy. Because even if you attain anything within this material world, let's say you won the kingdom, like Krishna gives him the arguments, even if you win, even if you lose, you'll go to heavenly planets and enjoy, or even if you stay, you will obtain this kingdom, and you can enjoy that kingdom and be happy on the material level. But again, because of aversion or attachment, you won't be happy and satisfied. Therefore, you have to come to the higher platform and perform activities in a detached way, or namely Nishkam Karma Yoga, because only in that kind of matter you can really attain happiness. A devotee is not happy by obtaining anything of any kind of promised result of that certain type of activity. That might be, as I said, some kind of an impetus to achieve something, to have some result. But that result ultimately always depends on Krishna. Whether Krishna will grant the result of any certain activity or not. So it's definitely not easy not to be attached, because that's a very high platform. So to some degree, yes, we want some kind of result, some kind of inspiration that we continue performing devotional service or any kind of activity within it. But essentially we shouldn't strive for it. That shouldn't be our only motivating factor to perform the devotional service, to obtain something within it. Anything that we may measure, so to say. That will come. That definitely Krishna will grant in the course of time. But we should learn how to be detached from it. Because if we remain attached, and let's say whatever we have been meditating upon, it doesn't manifest, then what will our inspiration for performance of devotional service be? Hardly any or none. And then, what kind of spiritual progress we can make? So we shouldn't be attached to it. Ultimately, it all depends on Krishna. Karmanyeva adhikaraste, famous verse, ma phaleshu kadachana. Yes, we have the right to perform our duty or to perform spiritual activities, but the result ultimately depends on Krishna. He is the one who is going to either give us that result, desired one, or not, according to what he considers to be the most appropriate for our spiritual advancement. Maybe he won't give result because he wants us to strive a little more, to surrender a little more. Or maybe he will give us so that he can, encourage us further, depending how do we accept any kind of circumstance that we are placed within. If we are not qualified to, many times we see, especially initially, when the devotees practice spiritual life and they do get some result of whichever activity they do perform, they tend to become very proud. And they tend to become very disregarding towards other devotees. And this is one of the greatest obstacles. This is one of those Kanishta mentalities when we see, yes, we worship the deities, we have a relationship, let's say, with the guru or the deity, but we lose the relationships with the devotees. And we disturb their devotional service for whichever other reason it might be. So this is that Kanishta mentality. And then Krishna withdraws the result, or Krishna doesn't manifest any further, because we have to learn how to handle those results. Like one of the interesting pastimes was the pastime of Sudama Brahmana, wherein he has been given everything. He was so poverty-stricken, like here, one of the interesting words here, it's poverty. So we'll come to that a little later. One should not be poverty-stricken. It's interesting. But the idea was that Sudama Brahmana, he was proud of his condition, that he was a Brahmana, living very simply, having nothing, and this was his attachment. So to ultimately purify him, Krishna wanted to remove that final attachment as well. And therefore he gave him absolutely everything, seeing how is he going to handle all of these that I have been granting him. So that was final test for the Sudama Brahmana. So that is another kind of way of progressing in the spiritual life and achieving perfection. Not being completely attached to any kind of situation, circumstance, or the results that we might be in or getting within the process of devotional service. So this is something that we have to somehow learn through the experience of our devotional practice and strive to come to that level, or at least plead and beg devotees to give us the mercy to come to that platform, to understand what that platform is, and then continue further, so that we can achieve perfection in our devotional life. And then from another point of view, we have aversion. It is said that again, attachment or aversion are the two sides of the same coin. If we become averse to any kind of process, activity, and we don't utilize it again in the Krishna service, then we didn't perform our duty properly. Again, Again, same example of Sudama Brahmana might be cited. Well, he wasn't really. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Not to that, not to same extent. But being averse to something that can be utilized for the service and in Krishna consciousness, the principle of Yukta Vairagya. So, the most, of course, exemplary person would be Srila Prabhupada. Or even prior to him, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Many Babajis earlier, or sadhus, or saintly personalities couldn't even conceive of utilizing car in the devotional service. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj stressed very much upon it. That if somebody is going for preaching, there's one interesting letter where he says he's addressing the inmates of the ashram, sannyasis and renunciants, namely meaning brahmacharis. He states that if a sannyasi, and that's again in relationship to this purport, Prabhupada talking about sannyas life, he said if a sannyasi goes out for preaching, then he may use a car for preaching purpose. He may use a car, and at that time, of course, to have car or something was just something incredibly prestigious and important and inspiring, impressing. And he may also wear a leather shoes. This is what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj is mentioning. He may also wear leather shoes. Of course, ahimsa leather shoes, not ahimsa ones. He may also do so. But he points out in the same letter, he says, if a sannyasi goes on his own business somewhere else for some more personal reason, he has to walk barefoot. And he cannot use the car either. So these are the principles of sannyas or renounced orders that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj stressed out. So now if we say that it is a principle of a renounced order just to live very simply and just be completely detached from everything, but if there is a facility that can be used within Krishna consciousness for the preaching's sake and we don't use it, then we are actually at fault of wrongly misunderstanding and not utilizing this material energy for the purpose of preaching and for Krishna's service. So that's not proper renunciation, therefore. So this is why Rupa Goswami taught us how to learn how to utilize everything that is favorable. Two principles of Sharanagati. Seeing what is favorable, seeing what is unfavorable, to be utilized within the process of devotional service. So once we surrender in such a way, maybe we sometimes personally wouldn't do it, but for sake of Krishna we may surrender to use something for the sake of His glorification. That's why it's surrender, principle of surrender. So we use everything for sake of Krishna. So any kind of aversion towards something that can be utilized, that's also not appropriate. That will also hamper our spiritual progress towards the perfection. So we have to learn how to utilize everything in the service of the Lord. Of course, unless we know it, sometimes we may be confused whether something can be utilized or not. But in that sense, always, of course, we have our authorities to consult with. So, coming back to what Krishna instructed Arjuna, the point was that if we want to achieve real perfection, then we have to learn that how to come to that point of equanimity and how to utilize whatever can be utilized for the purpose of advancing in the spiritual life. And any kind of aversion and attachment will definitely create an obstacle on our spiritual progress. So that's from the devotional point of view. Of course, materialists, they're always in anxiety for being attached or being averse to so many different kinds of things. And that there is no question of progress. And therefore, again, as I said earlier, all of their activities and hopes are completely baffled. It's an interesting word. Krishna also says, Vittaraga Bhaya Krodha, that one can become freed from then fear, from Krodha, by engaging himself in my service. And this is what is discussed here in this verse, that those who are intelligent would give up the original cause of lamentation, Hankering and lamentation. Again, another two principles of material existence. Hankering after something, and even if you get it, you don't get satisfied, or even if you get it, you're not satisfied, or if you don't get it, you're still dissatisfied, and again there is no peace. So in any way, there is no satisfaction. And then again lamentation for the same principle. Either you achieve something or you don't achieve. So it's just like hankering and lamentation. Prabhupada would say it's like a pendulum moving back and forth, or like bhoga and tyaga. Same thing, principles of the material existence. And then further on, the illusion, being in illusion of considering this body to be all in all and trying to make it comfortable and try to satisfy the senses without engaging any items or any principles or anything that is provided by the material energy in the service of the Lord. And then of course fear and anger. What is anger? Again, just frustration of not being able to satisfy the senses. And then attachment that we spoke about. Poverty. That's an interesting one. That intelligent person should renounce poverty. That should give it up. Well, what if you don't have a choice? Just by nature, you just have no means for anything. What about that? What about like a story of Kolovecha Sridhar? He was absolutely poverty-stricken, you may say, from the material point of view. Of course, from spiritual, he was the most wealthiest personality in the world, in the whole universe, because he had direct association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he didn't endeavor to eradicate poverty. So what would that mean? What would that poverty mean here? Prabhupada doesn't mention anything in the purport. So maybe I can save myself not discussing about it. I can ask you maybe, if anybody has any idea. Can only speculate, philosophically speculate, what would that poverty mean? Again, maybe we can say just some kind of another attachment towards certain situation. Brahminical state where you're just happy with having nothing and being entangled with nothing, but maybe for sake of Krishna, obtaining something and using it in Krishna's service. Not being artificially renounced, like Prabhupada's famous gesture when so much money was in front of him and a life member here was coming and he saw Prabhupada, and then he pointed out that the Mayavadi would just reject everything, but Prabhupada said, I would do like this. I would use it in Krishna's service. And this is what here Prabhupada is pointing out, that any kind of income coming into the temple, it can be used for Krishna's service. 50% for printing books and 15% for the rest of the maintenance. Essentially, Brahminical principle Prabhupada stressed out is that Brahmana would never keep anything in excess. Would utterly completely depend on Krishna. Even if they gain something in charity, if that is excess, they would immediately also distribute it. They would not keep. Accepting charity and giving charity. It's also kind of a Kshatriya principle. Of course, but Kshatriyas would keep for the administration, for the social purposes, to maintain the kingdom. But Brahmanas would never keep, immediately they would spend. So the principle of banking actually was non-existent in the Brahminical society. They would never keep anything in excess. So they should utilize everything, because we know how the whole degradation and all this lack of spirituality manifested in the first place. When the Kali Yuga started, we know the whole story of Shringi and Parikshit Maharaj. What was the first place Shringi was given shelter to reside? Who knows? What was the first place or thing that was given by Maharaj Parikshit? Finally when Kali. But the whole lila started with Shringi, but degradation of the Brahminica class. No, no, no. Gold, yes, gold. He told me, first of all, there was no place where he could have stayed. So Kali was pleading, please give me some place where I can stay, because ultimately everything is your kingdom, there is no other place to go. So give me some place to reside. I can't go, the whole world belongs to you. So then he told me, you reside in the gold. You reside in the gold. So that's the first place where Kali resides. And from there, everything else, all the other irregulative principles are manifested. That's the first place. So that's why we have to be very cautious. If there is any kind of amount that we don't utilize properly, actually, even if we use even single rupee for our own personal sense gratification, we actually get karma for this. In any case, when any kind of charity is given to us or whatever, but as a representative of a certain institution, that has to go to the institution. Not for our personal, any kind of utility. So we have to be very careful. If any kind of Lakshmi is not utilized in a proper way, then again we'll bear the reaction of it. And especially if it is not earned in the pure manner, in appropriate manner. That karma also is transferred, and we have to suffer the reactions. So that's why we have to be careful. Whatever Lakshmi income is there, it should be utilized for Krishna directly, as much as possible. So 50% for printing of the books, for preaching activities, and 50% for maintenance. And remaining simple, simplicity. Like here Prabhupada talks about sannyas order, brahmachari order, whatever, simplicity. One of the most important qualities that can enhance our devotional practice, not being distracted into so many other things. And again, having that mind, peaceful mind. If you have too many things to dwell upon, where is the question of peaceful mind? Because mind's tendency is immediately you examine and try to analyze how we can use this, how you this, that, in so many different ways, and immediately the point of sense gratification comes into it, comfort, and then there's the whole principle of renunciation is lost. So that's why we have to be very careful. But we see in a renounced order of life that we don't have to worry about our own needs ourselves. Krishna is providing. Anybody who practices, spiritual life had that direct experience. So why striving for any kind of a thing that may create attachment and again bind us to this material existence? That's why again in the verse itself, it is pointed out that those who are intelligent should basically not become attached to any of those: illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, unnecessary labor, working unnecessary for something that is very difficult to achieve. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Nectar of Instruction, working hard to obtain things that are very difficult to obtain. Or the sixth one, also being greedy for mundane achievements. It's not necessary. Even though we may think this is something that may maybe enhance our devotional life. As one very interesting devotee, once Srila Prabhupada, there was a devotee who was very keen to become very wealthy as Prabhupada's secretary and to obtain a lot of wealth. And then he said, once I get this, then I'll be able to practice devotional service. There'll be so many funds, there'll be so many facilities, and then we can preach. Then we can have temples, we can have so many different kinds of facilities again, and then we can, practice spiritual life. But Prabhupada told him, no. First you focus on your devotional service, first you focus on your devotional life, and then whether, that comes in the course of time by Krishna's mercy or not, that you leave it upon the Krishna. But no, he was still very staunch on that conception that I have to first become very wealthy, and then I can practice Krishna consciousness very easily. And then Prabhupada also told him, this is what I thought in my personal life. I also thought, I should become very wealthy, and then I can practice devotional service very nicely. I can utilize this, for the sake of preaching. But he said it didn't work. Krishna took everything away from me. All that endeavor was futile. So first see how you can serve Krishna, how you can surrender to Krishna. Then if Krishna considers that it's appropriate, then Krishna will grant us. Krishna can grant the whole world, like he gave to Yudhishthira Maharaj. If somebody becomes qualified to handle all that, if we don't become qualified, then definitely it's going to be an obstacle in our spiritual progress. So that devotee didn't listen to Srila Prabhupada, and ultimately, he lost the track of his devotional practice. Of course, later on he came back, and now he's practicing by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and due to that attachment and service that he rendered to Srila Prabhupada initially. But for many years he was out of devotional service, having completely wrong conception. First, Lakshmi, and so many different kinds of facilities, temple, this and that, and then maybe devotional service. It doesn't work that way. Prabhupada pointed out. No, first, like here also, Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Just 1 second, let me try to find, where is that? He said that temples and all the other facilities should come later. I was trying to see. Prabhupada gives his own example. He says that I lived very simply. Whatever income I've been getting from selling the bag to Godhead, and I've been living according to same principle. And he established this society for Krishna consciousness according to same principle. But he said when the money started coming, then I introduced the deity worship and started opening the temples. That is the thing. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't the other way around. First we'll have a big temple, the nice opulent deity worship, and then everything will happen. No. First Prabhupada stressed upon the purity, committed devotional practice, and then we see how everything developed, not the other way around. So this is the lesson from this purport that Srila Prabhupada stresses upon us, how we should also behave in our devotional life. And if Krishna is pleased and he sends whatever opulences, sure, great, we can use it. But we should not strive separately for it, because they're contrary to the principles of the renounced order, and that will ruin our devotional practice. And it's not intelligent as this verse is pointing out. So today is also a very auspicious day, since time is running out. So we'll just mention it's Gopashtami, which is a day on which Krishna was sent out to take care of the calves. Huh? You want to go out and take care of calves or something? You want to go to Talasari? No? Can arrange. So it's interesting, Krishna was sent for the first day, all the calves and everything. Krishna was made in charge. This is your service now. You're in charge for all the calves. So this is the day when this happened. And on this day, also the gopis, they all were engaged in cleaning the goshalas. They were all engaged in cleaning. So this is, as I've been told by Ram Rup Prabhu, this is the day when you can see the lotus feet of Radharani at some places, like maybe in Mayapur, according to Jananivas Prabhu. Only on this day and on Radhashtami. Because the gopis, they, in order to clean the goshalas and everything, then they also, adjust a little bit the dress and so on. So you can see the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani on this day. And of course we have Dhananjay Pandit, Gadadhar Das Goswami, and Srinivasacharya's appearance and disappearances. Yeah, is it? All disappearances, okay. Makes it easy. So, Dhananjay Pandit, there's not much mentioned about him. Said that he actually was present during the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan, early Sankirtan pastimes in Navadvip, Nadia, and then he went to Vrindavan. There's not much about him. And that Lord Nityananda always resided within his heart. And the Gadadhar Das, just briefly to mention, Gadadhar Das has been pretty much a constant associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He even went to Jagannath Puri, was associating there, and then later on he was sent with Nityananda Prabhu and Ramdas to preach throughout the Bengal. He also took care of Vishnu Priya and Mother Sachi for some time, and after their departure he went to and stayed in Katwa, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And the most famous pastime in his life was that, during his presence that none of the Vaishnavas at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dare to face any Muhammadan, because they would consider they would be outcasted, that they would contaminate them. But Gadadhar Das didn't care. And at one point he came in front of Kazi's house, and he was so ecstatic actually. It was just because of being in some ecstatic mood and ecstasy. He was shouting. He just came in front of Kazi's house and shouted so loudly that calling Kazi out. And then Kazi also got so enraged that who is this daring to disturb me? And when he came out and when he said transcendental presence and serene face of Gadadhar Das, his heart melted. And he became immediately friendly and just inquired from him, what it is? What do you want? And Gadadhar said, didn't you hear? Don't you know that Gauranga Nityananda appeared to bless us all with the wonderful nectar of the holy name, which can purify the entire universe? Why don't you taste it? Why don't you take advantage of it? So he was imploring, he was trying to inspire Kazi to chant Hare Krishna. He was telling him, chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Bol. Chant, purify. You can purify yourself from all sinful reactions. So because he melted Kazi's heart, then Kazi kind of said, I will chant tomorrow. Tomorrow I will chant Hari. Not today, tomorrow I will chant. And then Gadadhar, just hearing that Hari, he became even more ecstatic. He said, wow, you chanted Hari. You've chanted, you already chanted. Why chanted you? Why tomorrow, today? You already did it. So he was not afraid to stand in front of any kind of a so-called inauspicious object or personality or place or whatever. The devotees were so transcendental, so ecstatic. So Gadadhar Das exemplifies that kind of a consciousness. The devotees should not fear in any kind of circumstance to present Krishna consciousness to anyone and everyone and think it will contaminate our consciousness. So this is Gadadhar Das, and then quickly Srinivasacharya. He was very famous. He essentially had been studying, his first guru, teaching guru, has been Narahari Sarkar. And he was studying under him, and he came to know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to go and meet him in the Puri. But in the course of time, as finally when that was possible and arranged, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already disappeared, and slowly all the other devotees started disappearing, and he missed it out, and he was very, very grief-stricken because of it. Finally he was instructed to go to Vrindavan and study under Jiva Goswami and receive initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So that's what he did, and he was studied with Shyamananda Prabhu and Narottam Das Thakur, and finally they had been sent back to Bengal with all loads or most wonderful books. And then there is that famous story of a king, whom astrologers told that there is the most precious wealth arriving at this particular time, in this particular place. And that king made a whole arrangement to stole this, and being, of course, anyway, I'm cutting things short, time's up. So I guess most of you know the story. It's a very wonderful story where those thieves, they stole all the books. Just imagine sometimes when you do some studies and you make your own notes and something, and that disappears. Or you work on some document or something, and then there's a crash, computer crashes down, or something happens, and say, what an unfortune. For devotees, the greatest wealth are the Shastras or notes. So it's just, you can just imagine how they felt. All these books of the Goswamis, all the original literatures, all have been taken away during the night where they were sleeping next to one lake. And then of course king, when he discovered what the wealth is, when they opened the trunk, he was very disappointed. But that night in the dream, Srinivasacharya came, and he told him, it's very effulgent, very brilliant, and he told him, very soon I'm going to come and I'm going to retrieve my wealth. And this is indeed what had happened. After some time, very short, he appeared within the Vishnupur, which was the seat at that time of the Vaishnavism, and he started discussing and presenting Bhagavatam with his local pandit of that king, who didn't know about Sridhar Swami, who didn't know anything about the essence of the Bhagavatam. And Srinivasacharya defeated him on the principles of Vaishnavacharya's commentaries. And king was so impressed by various dealings and behavior of Srinivasacharya that he took initiation from him, and he made everybody within that Vishnupur kingdom to become a devotee. And if you go nowadays to Vishnupur, actually you can see so many beautiful temples in very interesting style of the temples. You know, Madan Mohan temple, this temple, that temple, Radha Krishna temple, so many very, very interesting temples. Just Radha Krishna within the Vishnupur town. So beautiful. So Srinivasacharya, anyway, later on, he married, he had 2 wives. He, again, after a long time, he went to Vrindavan, came back to Vishnupur. There are a lot of different small details about his life. And finally, just mysteriously disappeared on this date. Just mysteriously disappeared, and nobody knows, nowhere it's written and mentioned how. So that's one of the greatness of the Vaishnavacharyas, how they conduct and how they live from this world. Okay, time's up. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions? Maybe quickly, one, something. Yes.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning about use of money, use of money and facilities. So at one point it is that even 1 rupee misspent will be taken, accounted for. Other hand, we were discussing that if you do not use the facilities, then that is Maya.
Again,
So,
same kind of like Niyamagraha and Niyamagraha.
Yeah.
Similar kind of.
So, and you told that the drawing line in between these 2 situations is that do not use even a farthing for your own personal self. But we see that when we use any facilities or in any form, cash or kind or anything, then the tendency or the chances of entering into misuse or something is there.
Yeah.
And it happens so many times. Or in past, then how to ensure that, and what is the drawing line or what is the adhikar that you don't go into that zone? How it will happen? How we ensure that you stick to the principle?
Well, the only way to ensure it is to become pure devotee of Krishna. In a sense, not necessarily up to that level again, but at least to the point that we dedicate our whole life to Krishna. Whatever we do is just for Krishna. Then whatever I'm using also, it's for Krishna. It's not for me. It's not easy, definitely. It's not easy. It's not easy. But somehow at least trying to cultivate and develop that kind of consciousness. Somehow, dedicating the whole life to Krishna. And Brahmacharya ashram, hey, there's nothing better in a sense. Of course, it's not perfect yet still. There's always, there are always loopholes, so to say. You can always somehow unconsciously or even consciously, utilize something for your sense gratification in the name of Krishna consciousness. But that's why we live together. That's why we, remind each other whenever something inappropriate, so to say, happens. Devotees will bring it up, of course, in a nice cultural, positive manner. So even if we might not, be conscious of it, somebody might help us in this way by pointing it out. Maybe it's not the best way of, using Krishna's facilities.
One practical situation which came, and it comes sometimes. So there was one student who wanted to join in the future full time, and then so he had a facility provided by the company for some work that he can use a taxi or cab, and in that he'll get 3,000 rupees upper limit for that taxi fare or something. And then, but the situation is that if he uses a rickshaw or something, then he can manage into 300 rupees only. And then he was telling that many company people, they do what they do, they take a bill from taxi wala for 3,000 rupees or 2.8 thousand, and then they show that bill and then use just little bit of this rickshaw only, and then they save the rest of the money. Now in this practical situation, and he's a devotee, this boy. One end we know that in company also exploit on many fronts. At the same time, the principle also stands that we cannot land into such things of. So then this practical situation now, and that to company is not a devotee or something, and they are into. So, and he also needs money.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It can be dangerous because again you develop attachment for it and you compromise on your devotional practice. Unless you learn how to depend fully on Krishna. And you think that you can utilize something but actually you're not still qualified for it. Again, Lakshmi, anything, it contaminates the consciousness. Unless we are fully in it, in devotional practice, whatever else we do and we try to kind of, by the name or in the name of something, use it in Krishna's service, it is dangerous. It's dangerous. So again, always we have to consult. So sometimes we can use, but it's not the best thing. I know many times, some devotees in the West, they use, welfare, what is that? There's that different kind of welfare funds and stuff and things, and then they use it for different, but it's not the best thing. It's not the best thing. And actually there's nothing wrong with them, or they're not bereft of anything, but it's kind of, you have to see, it's not easy to decide, it has to be proper consciousness. And you have to see how it affects you in the course of time. Is it helping you in your Krishna consciousness or not? And then if you see that, it's not, then you better give it up. So that has to be seen on the personal level, by some authority.
And really one small last thing is this. Goshtashthami is what, Prabhuji? Goshtashthami. The Gopashtami we know that I think the day when Krishna started to herd cows. So Goshtashthami also is written.
I don't know. That you will ask whoever did that. I have no idea.
Thank you.
Okay, it's getting late. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.